call Republicans the party of the working class because their policies are horrible for the working class. But in terms of demographically, higher earners cut more Democratic this time. So that move of like, let's pick up voters in the suburbs for every working class person we lose in the rural areas, well, you got what you wished for, but the results were a loss, right? So I don't know, man. I don't know if this is going to stay the same. I will say this, though. I'm now at the point where I don't fucking know what the electorate wants, what they're going to end up doing. There was a time where I felt like I was pretty much tapped in and I had a good sense of what was to come. It's very possible that Kamala being at 37% right now is indicative of she will be the nominee in the same way that, Biden was up quite a bit for a long time in the early polls before 2020, and he ended up being the one. Obviously, they had to do some dirty tricks to screw Bernie over, but even with Hillary was leading by a lot going into 2016. They needed some dirty tricks, but she ended up being the one. But then there's other instances like Obama where it wasn't the case. He wasn't this person who was clear front runner, leading into 2008, but he ended up winning, right? And on the Republican side, with Trump, he kind of did start leading pretty early, and then he ended up hanging on and winning. So is this indicative of like, this is just what it's going to be? Or is it indicative of like the year that Rudy Giuliani on the Republican side was leading by like double digits in every primary poll leading into, I think it was 2008. And then he like absolutely imploded and got like 1% of the vote. There's reason to go either way on Kamala, right? There's reason to go either way. Now she has more name recognition than any other Democrat, even though she lost. But she also still, as people point out all the time, in 2020, she flamed out before she even got to Iowa, before the first votes came in. So I don't know. But ranking in order of ability to win, look, I hate to say it, but Bernie's so old, and I don't think he would run again, and I don't think voters would go for it just because of his age. So Bernie's kind of out of the question. Michelle Obama doesn't want to run, never is gonna. She's sort of out of the question. It's possible Kamala is the one. I think Newsom is way more politically talented. He's a great debater. He's a debate bro for the Democratic side, but he also does have that like snake oil salesman vibe to him, used car salesman vibe to him. Pete Buttigieg, phenomenal debater. He's great in those Fox News segments, but he absolutely codes as like coastal elite, which we're clearly in a populist time, so I don't know how that would go over. Whitmer, I really think the Democrats are not going to run another woman for a very long time because Kamala lost and Hillary lost. And so even though it's unfair to women to say like all women are not going to be picked, I think the Democratic voters are scared of if they pick another woman, they're going to lose because it's a woman. So I don't think they're going to go in that direction. Shapiro is just doing a cheap Obama impression. I'm not a fan of his, but at the same time, I'm humble enough to realize just because I'm really irked by him, that does not mean the Democratic voters will be, so he will still probably have a chance. I think the other poll I saw, which again I couldn't find, but had Tim Walz in it, and I think Tim Walz was one of the top, like probably at 5% or something like that. So anyway, this is what it is on the Democratic side. Now let's take a look at the Republican side. And guys, I mean, this is what I'd expect, right? This is what I'd expect. Now J.D. Vance is top of the list, 30%, leading by 25 points. Number 2 is DeSantis at 5%. Then you have Vivek Ramaswamy at 3%, Nikki Haley at 2%, RFK Jr. at 2%, and unsure is 51%. This one's interesting too, right? Who's going to be the heir apparent to Trumpism? By the way, what happens with Trumpism is very important. If you ran as a Bush-like Republican after 2 terms of George W. Bush, you'd get your ass kicked. We saw what happened with Jeb Bush in 2016. Just the fact that he was a Bush, he was also politically untalented, but that hurt him. There is no positive legacy there for the Bushes. It's just not there. Will Trump tarnish his legacy so much, I think he probably will, that anybody who has the stench of Trumpism doesn't win? Very possibly. But also, the Republican Party clearly is like a cult now, and they all love Trump so much that anybody who Trump blesses, even if he does a bad job, it might not matter. They might waltz through the primary easily. So DeSantis could be the heir apparent. Vance is most likely because he's the VP, although he's not nearly as politically talented as Trump. I could see RFK, sort of just becoming a Republican and it might actually make a run at it. I don't know. But these are the numbers right now. Let me just say this. I hope on the Republican side, even if it is Vance, I think Democrats have a good shot. If it's Don Jr., who should have been in this poll, by the way, Democrats would have a good shot. DeSantis, Democrats would have a good shot. But I would like more out-of-the-box thinking from Democrats. They're just going, okay, Kamala was the one last time. Kamala again. Why the fuck not? I never in the past did you see, I never saw Democrats act like this, or even Republicans in the past. If you lose, it used to be like, get out of here, you're a loser. Romney, for example. Look at Romney, right? Hillary, look at Hillary. If you lose, okay, you lost, you're a loser, get out of the way. But now, ever since Trump lost, had 91 criminal charges against him, withstood everything, and still ended up winning the primary and then the general, maybe it's a new day in politics where people feel like, who cares if you lost once? Try again, right? That's a big switch from when I was younger. Whereas if you lost, it's like, you're a loser. Move on. Now it's like, if you lose, who cares? Give it another shot. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I would like to see more creative answers. Sean Fain would be a great one. Sean Fain should have been, I mean, he would have pulled super low because he doesn't have the name recognition yet, but he would be great. Jon Stewart, as I said, would be great. There's probably others who'd be great, but anyway, very in-the-box thinking right now from these people, but Lord help us, I don't even know why I'm talking about the 2028 polls right now, but there you have it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.